Hey everyone, welcome and namaste. I have the beautiful soul sister of mine, Joyce Loveless from Joy and Love Yoga, here with us today. And I'm so honored and grateful that she has been part of our Mastermind program. And I'm so honored that she was also part of our WiseMind Spiritual Warrior program. So she's going to share more about that today on her kind of journey of yoga. But Joyce, if you want to start with just kind of introducing yourself, and if you want to share, your story of what brought you to yoga and kind of what brought us together and kind of that path.
Yeah, I'd be glad to. And I just want to say hello. And I am just so honored to be here as well. In what I call my real life, I am a director for a nonprofit working with K-12 schools across the state of North Carolina. But I'm slowly beginning to transition into what I want to be my second act, and that is a wellness coach that's really focused on healthy habits and mindfulness and and really wanting to go in that direction is because of the journey that I've been on. And so maybe it was like 10 years ago that we met, Jenny. I was at the time a runner and just looking for a way to try to not be injured as I was training for a marathon, and started taking yin classes with you. And it was the first time I had ever experienced a yin class, and I loved it. And I remember thinking, because in yin, the room was always dark, and I said, this is probably the quietest place that I can be in my busy week. And if I could just stay here, so that's what really, I think, really started to pull me into yoga, and really beginning to kind of change my mind of what yoga was. Because again, I was thinking that, oh, I'm just here for stretching, but I've actually found it to be something that was quite relaxing and something that allowed me to be a little more introspective. So that was 10 years ago. So flashback 5 years, was it 3 or 4 years ago, that I was continuing with yoga, but wanting to go deeper.
I
So,
believe I think it was 3 years ago. I'm trying to think because we had last year, last year 2019, and you graduated in 2018. So
wow.
going
Yeah.
on 3 years, right? Does that sound?
Yeah.
I think that's right. You graduated in December of 2018. Yeah.
Right. Right. Because at that time I was thinking I wanted to go a little bit deeper with yoga. I really wanted to, I didn't want to teach. I knew that. But I knew I wanted to go deeper with yoga, and was exploring different YTTs, but really just wasn't. It was kind of like at a crossroads. And what's that saying? The teacher comes when the student is ready. And then Jenny reappeared in my life, and was sharing that she was enrolling for a YTT, and I was like, I'm thinking about signing up for a YTT, and like it just felt right. And so that was a great opportunity for us to come back together through that experience. And
Mm-hmm.
then now we're here again together again through this mastermind program. And again, that same feeling, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And so as I think about like my transformation with the beginning of yoga and where I am now as somebody who is supporting students through their own transformation, like Jenny, you've been there the whole way through.
Oh, well, that is so sweet of you. I am so grateful and honored, really, to take you through and be part of your journey. And I am grateful and honored with every single student and client and YTT student that I get to work with, because it really is a gift. And, I'm so grateful that I've been able to find my Dharma, and be able to live it. So it's my honor, really, to be part of that with you. And it's so funny because, looking back when you were in the yin classes, right? I remember you as a student. Like I remember coming up and adjusting you in like wide seated forward fold, and that you needed to a little bit more adjustment, but you could kind of go down, a little bit more. You had more flexibility. Like I remember like, being there and adjusting you in those classes. And it's so interesting too, because I part of my journey has been around yin also, that I love yin as much as I love vinyasa flow, and they both have their purpose. And I remember, and you probably remember this too, like me talking about how yin was not just about stretching, and that you are changing your brain and your gray brain matter and, your neuron pathways and all those things, like way back when you were sitting in those yin classes, and all the transformation that was happening, for you, even with each class, right? So every time we step on our mat is a chance for transformation, right? Every single class we do, every 5-minute meditation we do, right? It's always a tool for transformation. So I'm so honored, and it gives me goosebumps because it's just so interesting to look back, on all of that. Yeah. So I'm honored to be part of that for you. So share a little bit about what your experience has been around, I guess, kind of working with me individually, like as far as the mastermind goes, just like how, my style as far as coaching and that type of stuff, and mentoring. I call it more mentoring. And then also like what your experience has been with the mastermind, just like the format and the learning management system, and like some of the things that are kind of the pieces that you have found to really benefit you in part of that. And I know we talked a little bit about like your signature story and some of the things in the business module. So just kind of share what that has been like for you.
Yeah, I mean, just as I was saying before, like just the being able to participate in the mastermind, like the timing is right for me. Because, I, after, getting my certification and becoming a certified yoga teacher, I immediately went into teaching and had the opportunity to work with, to have some classes of my own. And then the pandemic hit. And then all my classes went away. And I tried to recreate, those classes for myself virtually. And so kind of opening up what I was thinking was like an online studio, and really thinking about you in that model as well. Like, this is something, you lead leave a wide path, Jenny, for others to follow. And so that definitely was in my mind when I was thinking about that. But there's something, and again, the timing of the mastermind came at the right time, because I think there's something that you say around, yoga requires action. Like yoga just isn't on its own. And so being able to participate in the mastermind, like what attracted the mastermind to me was the idea of focusing on the yoga psychology, the neuroscience. Like that's an interest of mine as well. And I wanted to go deeper in those topics. And so it was a great way to really explore those topics with you. But what I have, at this moment, because we're still in the program, but the piece around the signature story has probably been the most transformational for me at this point. Because going back 10 years, like I couldn't articulate why I was drawn to yin or what was going on at that time. But as we were talking about, our dharma and our signature story, and, there's that saying, your mess is in your message. Like, being able to go back and look at and try to, from this vantage point, trying to parse out, like, why was I drawn to that? I think it's a question I wouldn't have asked myself if not for that exploration of the signature story. And realizing that at that time I was going through a lot. Not, I just going through, kids going off to college and teenagers and job changes and things like that, that
Mhm.
I probably didn't even realize how that was impacting me,
Mhm.
except that I had that quiet place. And I don't think I would have had that realization, if not for the exploration we've been doing in the mastermind around Dharma. And it's making me realize that my Dharma is really helping to support other women like me, who are navigating those changes. But I will say that the format has been really helpful. Just you're just a fantastic teacher, Jenny, in regards to sharing information, giving us time to process the what you're providing us,
Mhm.
the tools and the handouts and everything that you've provided just allows us to go a little bit deeper, on the subject matter. So I've just appreciated the pacing. It's not overwhelming, and there's just time to think. You always ask a question that makes me think, oh, I hadn't thought about it that way. And so that I've really appreciated as being a student in the mastermind.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm so grateful because I know what a blessing it was for me as well when I went through that process. Right. And so I know that that works. That process works, right? With the Sankofa work, the setting the intention, the meditation, the sadhana practice to work through what your Sankofa is and your Dharma and your ultimate purpose, and then creating that aligned action, right?
Mhm.
Once you do the other stuff up front, right? So you can't get to your signature story without doing that work. And so I think that's what a lot of business coaches miss. And I had shared that with everyone, that that was one of the steps that the business coach I worked with had missed. And I didn't know what I didn't know, right? And I had invested a significant amount not knowing that I had missed that step.
Mhm.
And so through working with other coaches and other teachers, I went through that step, obviously. And then now I'm sharing that with you all. And, you can't really build, ultimately, if you're really building a yoga business, even as a side hustle or eventually as a business, right? For somebody like you that eventually you'll retire, and you're looking to do that full time, you can't build that strategy and marketing and brand, right? Because you do have to build a brand. And that's
Mhm.
not in an egotistical way. That's just what marketing is. You have to build some type of brand around yourself of what you're recognized for, right? And again, it's not ego, it's
Mhm.
marketing, right? And so as part of that process, you have to do that deeper inner work, right? You have to do that work of setting the Sankopa. Once you understand your signature story, then you build your ideal client avatar, and then you build your marketing strategy, right? And then
Mhm.
there's the 80% psychology shadow work on the front end. So we can always go back because we're always doing shadow work, right? So it's not like a one and done deal that you do shadow work once and you go through this huge transformation, in a mastermind and a YTT. It's a lifelong journey, right? Because there are always going to be things that might come up along the way. So they may not be the way it happens when you're in that mastermind or you're in that YTT, but there's always things that we're working on, right? Because if we're really a true student and teacher, we're a lifelong student, but we're always transforming, right? We're always
Mhm.
evolving, we're always changing. So that shadow work is always happening, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
but it lights me up every time I hear somebody like you or anybody else that has that aha and makes that connection, because I want to be able to save you guys, time and energy so that you can get things going more quickly, right? So again, going from years to months or going from years to 1 year, of you being able to ramp up and kind of expedite getting the results, right? Because
Mhm.
you can be a true yoga spiritual practitioner and live in abundance. and build a business around it. You can do both, right? It doesn't have to be either or. So
Right.
so that's kind of the exciting part. And again, that's taken me a long time to get to that place, right? Of letting go of money mindset and all these different things that we talk about. And so that's why I'm so passionate about it, why I share it with you guys, because I've gone through it and I've transformed it and I've made the mistakes that I'm helping you guys to not do.
Mm-hmm.
You get to learn from my mistakes so that I can like narrow the path for you guys. Okay.
I call it blazing a path.
I'm your pioneer, right? I'm that pioneer. I've gone ahead, you know,
uh,
like you said, I blazed the path, I cleared the path for you guys so that you can just, and then you guys can become conscious leaders, right? I love that idea of being a conscious leader, right? We got to step up right now, right? We need more conscious leaders right now with the state of the world, right? I don't even need to go into any detail, but
yeah,
we
yeah,
need
no,
leaders right
no.
now. A lot of people need this help. Um, So tell me, oh, I did want to mention one other thing too. Side note, with the learning management system, you get lifelong access to all those videos and handouts and all that stuff. So I just want to mention that the program is 6 months, but you can take as long as you need to get through it. If it takes you a
Right.
year, if you want to go back to it at any point, it will always be there. So I just wanted to mention that. In addition to us meeting in the Facebook group live weekly. Okay, so I want you to share the results of you working on your signature story and doing all this hard work. Share with us what your program is and kind of where you are in that process right now with you kind of identifying your ideal client avatar and doing the signature story and doing that work is kind of what brought you to where you are now. So kind of share that with us.
Oh, gladly, gladly. And as I said, I mean, you definitely shared or saved me from so much time because at first I was just going to have a studio, as I said, my online studio. But as I thought about who I wanted to work with, and this was something that even through YTT, like I think I knew who I wanted to work with. I wasn't ready to own it and thought, oh, I wanted to share my gifts, with the world. But realized I needed to be a little more targeted. There are a lot of people in the world. And so I realized I want to share with other women who are on a similar journey that I'm in, who are, busy, who are trying to do everything and do everything perfect, who, as we've talked about, being addicted to busyness, those type A
Mhm.
personalities who now find themselves in midlife, as I call it, as being a woman of a certain age, with this opportunity in front of them, what I call their second act, to be able to step into the life that they were meant to have, that they've been craving now that the kids are gone, and so the program that I'm offering now is a 12-week transformative group coaching program that I say will ditch the midlife funk. But really, it's through building healthy habits, building a mindfulness practice. And so that also includes looking at nutrition and eating habits, as well as a movement practice, and then using yoga as kind of a foundation for exploration, the same way that yoga provided me that space to find calmness and balance during those crazy times. So that is the program that I'm offering. And as I said, if not for being able to work with you and finding the clarity that this is really what's speaking to me, and this is what I want to be able to offer, into the world. I don't know if that program would have been born, but it's here and it's now. And really wanting to start in January of 2021, just
Mhm.
I'm calling it reignite 2021.
I
Letting go,
love it.
yeah, letting go of
Mhm.
all the whatever of 2020. Let's just start over and, and step into our purpose.
Yeah. Well, I love that. I think that's amazing. And, just the fact that you're using, your signature story and what you went through, like you said, with your own yoga, using it as a transformation tool and helping you get through that time of your life that you were struggling with, empty nest syndrome and, what do I do now? That type of thing. Like, what is my purpose? Like, my purpose has been, taking care of my kids and doing all that. And especially when they're teenagers and they're in high school and then they go off to college and then you're like, now what? Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not there yet. My daughter is still a teenager, so I've got about like 3 more years before I get to that point. But I can relate, right, as a mom, that I'm not
Mm-hmm.
quite there yet, but as a mom, I can relate, I can empathize what that stage must be like, even though I'm not there yet, if that makes sense. And like the fact that, you've chosen that avatar, right, that client avatar for you, that you want to walk those women through, the healing process and the transformation process and stepping into, like you said, their dharma, their purpose, like that they're made for more, right? I love that phrase. They're taking their mess as their message, their karma is their dharma, right? And just like, I think the other part with that avatar for you too is like, them kind of giving their power back, because as moms, especially, we put so much emphasis on everybody else, right? And not on ourselves. And so then oftentimes our self-care goes down the drain. And, I talk about that, about a sadhana self-care practice on a daily basis, even if it's for 5 or 15 minutes that you've done something like 5 minutes of meditation, 15 minutes of some kind of exercise or yoga. It could be walking outside for 15 minutes, right? But the point is, like, a lot of women, I would imagine at that age, are probably struggling with making themselves, a priority again. And that's not in an egotistical way, right? Self-care is not selfish. And you're going to hear me say that. I'm sure you're going to say that to your women, right?
Mm-hmm.
Self-care is not selfish. And getting themselves in the healthiest that they can be mentally and physically and emotionally, so they can show up for their partner, for their husband, for their kids, even though their kids are at college or aren't home anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's being able to support other women. So it also has a ripple effect, because when you step into your power and own your power and you're in your best place, then you get to lead other women also, right? And so again, it's that ripple effect, right? That you're creating leaders also.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Women empowering women.
Yeah, and there's nothing like it, right? Because we should be supporting each other. We should be lifting each other up, right? Because there's power in numbers and there's power in us supporting each other. And, there really is no comparison, right? Comparison is a lie.
Mm-hmm.
And because you have your set of unique gifts, right? That were God-given gifts and your own genius zone that you have.
Mm-hmm.
And I have mine. And somebody else is going to have something completely different, because we're each unique. So no one can really compare, because there is no comparison, because there's nobody else like you and there's no one else like me, right? So you have your own beautiful gifts that I don't have, and vice versa. Like, so I think that's that is one of the top 5 challenges that we've seen in women, is the comparison syndrome. And also
Right.
I'll be ready when syndrome, right?
Yes.
So hashtag ready is a lie. I'll be ready when, right? Whatever that next thing is. Guess what?
Right.
You're ready right now with what you have right now.
Yeah. I always say, the time is going to pass whether you do it or you don't. Like, so where do you want to be at the end of whatever period of time? And that was something that helped me make the decision about YTT, and even with the mastermind group as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is this something that I want to do now? Or, there's always that, oh, it's tomorrow. Well, like you said, when, but the time will pass, and at least at the end of 6 months, I can say I did this. So
Right.
I'm
And you've
hoping,
taken action, right? You've done the
yes,
action. Yeah.
yeah,
You've
and
done
and I
that.
think that's yeah. I was going to say, and I think that's the big thing. Working with you is the action. Kind of going all in, and the expectation isn't that you just get this information and sit with it. What you're offering is you're providing information, you're providing strategy, and inspiring, at least, for me, inspiring me to do something with it. And so that's what I've appreciated about being a student in the Mastermind.
Yeah. Well, again, it's my honor to be here to inspire you guys and motivate you guys, right? It's like, I mean, it's because I love being a cheerleader, right? And that's part of my love languages is words of affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
So I love to give that to other people to like build people up, and so I guess that's a gift of mine is to be able to, communicate that because it comes from a good, authentic place in my heart of I want everybody to do great. I really do, and it's authentic and it's real. I want everyone to like be their best and to make a difference. And I know somebody like you, like I know you're going to do amazing things. And I'm so proud of you really for everything you've done so far because you've done a lot in a short amount of time. I mean that. I know you said you don't feel that way right now, but I've been watching and I've seen it. I've seen the posts and stuff, and you have made a significant, you've made significant progress in a short amount of time. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Again, you're a trailblazer. I'm just following you.
Well, the other thing, too, I'll say is again, I'm so proud of everything that I've just in such a short amount of time, but also to watch how you've progressed from when you graduated from your 200, to see you posting and, you took action and you stepped out and you taught those classes at the different like community centers and you did stuff. I think it was in downtown Raleigh,
Mm-hmm.
you stepped out and you took action as far as that goes too, that you went ahead and you taught, and not everybody does that. There's some people that graduate from their 200 and they haven't even taught yet.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And you probably don't think about that because you've already taken the action, you've done it. But in comparison, there's other people that haven't gotten there yet. And maybe they're just, again, they feel like they're not ready. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, like there's one person in the group that has a full-time job that we're working on helping her feel ready so that
Mm-hmm.
she can start teaching, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, so what is your website that I'll put in here in the chat where people can find information on your 12-week program?
At JoyceLovelessYoga.com.
Joyce at lovelessyoga.com. Make sure I got that right. Joyce Loveless.
Loveless Yoga.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Put that in the chat. And you said it is 12-week program. And I'll fix that later. I'll add it.
Okay.
Comments. 12-week program. And it's called, remind me again what it's called.
Reignite 2021.
Reignite 2021.
Yeah, and it's funny you're talking about, teaching, and again, all credit to you because I did not go into YTT wanting to teach. It was purely a selfish endeavor. I wanted more self-exploration, and and through the process, built my confidence
Mhm.
to consider teaching. But I think I had the opportunity when you had your studio to teach there.
Mhm.
And then, it was just like that positive reinforcement. And I could see that I was making a difference. I could see, that I was contributing to others'
Mhm.
wellness. And so from there, I decided to go down that path. But yeah, teaching was not going to be, and it's interesting now because I feel like even through like the program that I'm offering,
Mhm.
teaching is a part of it. Obviously, coaching is a part of it. Yoga is a part of it. But I feel that this is an opportunity to kind of guide others through their own transformation.
Mhm.
So excited about being able to offer that as well.
Yeah, and I'm really excited for you also that you've been able to pull in, other aspects, that it's more of a wellness, where you're bringing in the nutrition, you're bringing in the yoga, you're bringing in, other probably coaching techniques, types of things, mindfulness. So you're bringing in and doing a really good job of blending it, right? That it's not just a yoga program, it's much more than that, right? And so that's part of you creating your brand, right? And creating your
Mhm.
signature program is what you're doing, right? And so, again, I'm really proud of you that you're doing great, you're doing amazing, and I can't wait to continue to watch and support as you continue to grow this Reignite program, or the next program that you might create.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's exciting. So excited. Stuff like I said, it lights me up to watch you guys. It really does. And it's funny because they do say that with YTT, that oftentimes the students that say that they're not going to teach are the ones that end up teaching. Because guess what I said when I went through my YTT? I wasn't going to teach. And now look at me.
Uh,
I mean, I just went through my YTT when I went through it as, again, I was going through my own personal journey of like dealing with, potentially like starting a separation process. Like, so
mhm.
that was kind of where I was at the time, a major life, that was kind of my major life thing. And then in addition to that, I was, burned out from my corporate job, and I was dealing with depression and anxiety, insomnia, the worst I've ever had. And so I actually had to take a break from work. That's what led me to yoga. Like a counselor saying, um, we need to do something here, and I want you to try yoga. I mean, she basically prescribed me yoga. And 3 months in, July, August, yeah, 3 months of me doing yoga, I went into teacher training. And I had, again, done yoga
Mhm.
for 3 months.
Mhm.
So that is how strong it spoke to me and how life transforming it was. And 3 months after YTT graduation, I was teaching. So
Mhm.
that's how fast that happened, within a 6-month time frame from me being introduced to yoga to actually starting to teach it.
Wow.
And in a group of like 7,500 people, 1,500
Right.
people, like that's what's crazy when I go back and I look at it. Um, that I wasn't, I had no fear, because I felt like that was what I was, my dharma. That's what I was supposed to do. So I wasn't scared. But
Mhm.
looking back at that, it's kind
Yeah.
of crazy to think like, you know, I mean, I just like walk. It wasn't like me going into a studio with 5 people. It was like an entire
Yeah.
room of at least 50 people on average. And the fact that I wasn't scared, or that I didn't like forget my whole sequence, you know what I mean? Like the
Mhm.
fact that I could even remember all that stuff is just, again, that's a God thing. That was a total like divine timing. Like that wasn't me. That was like
Mhm.
a total God thing of being able to support me and all that. You know what I mean? That wasn't about
Mhm.
me. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
I was meant to be there to support you and all the
Mhm.
other students that were there in that room.
Right. Right. And you have no idea, like, the ripple effect, because I'm just one person And, there were others who were regulars in that class and have no idea the transformation that may have occurred with them as well. So
Yeah.
I think that's what's so great about this work. As I said, I do other great work in my full-time career and hope that I'm able to leave an imprint as well. But there's something about yoga that you're really getting into like the heart of a person. That is just a different experience. I've had, and you've had this as well, people just have, breakthroughs in class. And I mean, it's just, there's something about yoga that just allows for people to really get in touch with themselves in a way that, you know,
Yeah.
I haven't found anything else that allows for that.
Yeah. And I don't know the exact statistics off the top of my head, but it's a fairly high number. I want to say it might even be as high as 50% of every time you walk into a studio or you walk into a class or you're teaching online, that somebody in that class has depression, anxiety, insomnia, post-traumatic stress disorder. And so you can just assume that at least 25 to 50% have something going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was, again, a big reason why I wanted to learn more about yoga psychology, is to be able to support people in that process. And, when somebody was having a breakthrough, what else could I provide to them in addition to, what was happening for them on the mat? Like, how could I support them off the mat as well?
Mm-hmm.
Because as you know, right, yoga is somatic mind-body therapy, right? And you are releasing emotions and energy blockages and trauma and stress and anxiety and all these things. And so, yeah, I mean, people are going to have releases on the mat and things are going to happen. And you want to be able to be trained to be able to support that. Obviously, we're not therapists, but there is a component where we can integrate yoga psychology. And there is kind of a therapeutic aspect of that.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully, eventually, we'll be recognized as, just like a therapist, because it is a form of therapy.
Yeah.
It is a form of coaching. It is a form of personal development, all those things, mentoring, life coaching. Like when you take all the pieces of yoga psychology and what that looks like to support someone, you're getting all these different, 360-degree support system when it comes to that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and all therapy is important, right? Talk therapy is important. Cognitive behavioral change is important. All these different therapies are important. Somebody who has post-traumatic stress disorder, who has a counselor they go to specifically for that. But in addition to that, I've seen a lot of people who, as a complementary way to support them through that process, has been yoga, right? Because there is the mind-body release part of that, where you have to get that out of the body and you have to shape shift the psyche and the neuro pathways.
Right.
You can talk about that all day long, but which is important, right? That's an important part of the process.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not negating that. But then there's the other piece over here where you have to physically, through yoga, asana practice, pranayama work, meditation, essential oils, sage, Palo Santo, like just all the things where you're just like, you're shape shifting and you're changing that person's psyche and you're releasing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, like the emotional release, anger and grief and sadness and all those emotions that can cause blockages in the body. We teach you that as well as a tool for you to be able to use in your daily life and to teach other students and clients. That's a healthy way to release those emotions that we're not taking it out on somebody else.
Right. Or on ourselves.
Or ourselves, right? So instead of doing, self-deprecating, type behavior where we're hurting ourselves or we're hurting others, like maybe, it could be something as like over drinking or overeating or over shopping, or, whatever our go-to is, overworking. Many of us have this list of some scar patterns that we go to when we're stressed or when we're not wanting to deal with our emotions, right? That's the other thing that we work with you guys on is how do you deal? You need to be able to process your emotions. You don't want to repress them. You gotta be able to process them, and you gotta be able to regulate your emotions. And that's what WiseMind is. WiseMind is the psychology term of staying centered. That's what WiseMind means. We don't go into emotion mind. We don't live our life in emotion mind. We live our life in WiseMind. So that's an important skill for anyone. And what's really cool is some of the women in the group that are moms are teaching those skills to their daughters.
Right.
So that's the other part that's really cool. So whether your kids are 10, a teenager, a tween, in their 20s, this can be taught at any time,
Right.
So, that's also something that you can do with your program. Obviously, you're targeting the moms and you're targeting, what that ICA, but they might be able to take some of that information and help their children or their daughters with that information.
Right. And their spouses.
Exactly.
I've heard, that some of the things that, I've offered that they have also shared with their husbands, and, it makes a difference. So
it makes a huge difference. And again, you're creating a ripple effect, right? And that's what's cool is that you're creating a ripple effect with every woman that you work with. It's going to affect her kids. It's going to affect her husband. It's going to affect her family, everybody that she touches by the transformation work that she does and what she learns.
Right.
So that's really cool.
Yeah.
You're doing it, Joyce. You're doing it.
Thank you. Again, I'm following your path. So
I'm just here as a guide. I'm just a vessel, right? Really, I'm a guide and a vessel. That's it. Like, this is like download, right? This is not this. I'm a vessel of spirit, a vessel, and just putting it back out to you guys. So anything else that you want to share for someone that is like thinking about joining the mastermind, or someone that maybe has never met me before, like anything else that you think would be helpful to share with everyone?
Yeah, I definitely, if anyone is thinking about enrolling in the mastermind, I strongly would encourage them to do so. I mean, working with you, Jenny, has just really been a blessing. And, as I said, every milestone, as I kind of thought about our last 10 years together, every milestone that I've had in my life, you've been a part of. And just what you offer in a way that's genuine, that's, in a way that's supportive. I mean, it really has been life-changing for me. So anyone who's on the fence, I would strongly encourage them to not only work with you, but to enroll in the mastermind as well.
Oh, thank you, girl. Well, I'm super excited to see, who we may have come in January, and I'll, talk more about whatever I'm still kind of formulating what I'm doing in January. So I'm not going to talk about that here, but I thought it was important for us to chat, just to kind of put it out there. And same thing with Carrie, so that I could also share your programs. When I met with Carrie last week, who is transitioning from owning a yoga studio to going online and creating targeted programs, except her focus is teens and tweens. And just kind of like letting people know what we're doing and sharing in an authentic way. There's nothing like being able to share, somebody's experience like you. So thank you so much for taking the time, because I know everybody has a busy schedule. Everybody's time is valuable. So thank you so much for taking your time to be on here with us as well, and to share your experience and to share your yoga journey and to share about your program. So thank you so, so much for, again, taking your time and carving it out, because I always am so grateful for every person, and for you having the vulnerability and the transparency for you to actually step up and do this, because I know this isn't easy, right? To get on a live, interview like this. So I want to give you, again, kudos that you are stepping into this, right? You're owning it and in full vulnerability, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you again for the opportunity.
Of course. All right, girl. Well, I am going to see you next week in our mastermind, and I just can't wait to continue to be here to support you. I'm super excited.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yes.
And I will post that program again in the comments as well. And can't wait to see what happens with your Reignite program.
I know. I'm excited. But thank you.
You're welcome. Well, namaste, girl. I will see you soon.
All right.
All right. Bye.
Bye bye.